Hook. At 3:17 a.m., the doorbell camera showed the previous owners entering a house they sold 6 years earlier. Hook end. Act 20. The house was 114 Briar Glen Road, a narrow two-story place on the edge of Ashford, Vermont, with black shutters, a sloping porch, and a basement window so clouded with dust it looked painted shut. Mark and Elise Porter bought it in October because it was quiet, cheap, and strangely clean. The realtor said the previous owners, Harold and June Voss, had moved to Arizona after 40 years there. She said it lightly, like a fact nobody could dispute. Pattern, produziert, interrupt. But the first night, before the Porters had even unpacked the kitchen plates, someone rang the bell and asked for June by name. The camera caught only a sleeve, a pale hand, and the edge of a brown coat. Mark opened the door with his phone in one hand and saw an elderly man standing on the porch. He was soaked through, though the weather app said there had been no rain within 20 miles. The man smiled with the tired politeness of a neighbor returning a borrowed tool. He said, "I forgot my blue notebook." Mark told him the Voss family did not live there anymore. The man looked past him into the hallway and whispered, "Then why is she still inside?" Cliffhanger. Elise thought it was confusion. Dementia, maybe. A sad mistake. She called the realtor the next morning, expecting an apology and a phone number for the Voss family. Instead, the realtor went quiet. Then she said Harold Voss had died in 2019 and June had died 2 months after him. No Arizona, no forwarding address, no elderly couple enjoying desert sunsets. The house had been empty for 6 years because Harold's nephew could not bring himself to clear it out. Pattern interrupt. The person on the porch could not have been Harold, but the doorbell clip showed his face for 2 frames when lightning flashed behind him. Act 2. Mark did what rational people do when a story starts sounding ridiculous. He looked for wiring problems, prank angles, and neighborhood teenagers. The bell was new. The camera was cloud-backed. The motion logs were clean. Still, every night that week, the same thing happened at 3:17 a.m. The bell rang once. The porch stayed empty for 3 seconds. Then the wet footprints appeared one by one, as if the camera could see the result, but not the person making them. Pattern interrupt. On the 5th night, a woman's voice came through the speaker. Not loud, not theatrical, just close. "Harold, you promised you would not let them sleep in our room." Their room, according to the floor plan, had been the upstairs front bedroom. The Porters had chosen it because it caught the morning light. Elise stopped sleeping there after she woke to the smell of lavender talcum powder and found a handprint on the inside of the window. It was too small for Mark and too high for their daughter, Nora. When they washed it off, the print returned before the glass had dried. Mark tried to laugh at it. Then Nora asked why the old lady in the mirror kept counting her teeth. Cliffhanger. The house became a negotiation. Lights stayed on, doors stayed open. The hallway camera watched the stairs. At 2:58 a.m., the temperature in the upstairs hall dropped from 68 degrees to 41. At 3:12, the basement door clicked. At 3:17, the bell rang, and the camera showed a close-up of Harold Voss, his face gray and wet, one eye reflecting the tiny red recording light. He did not ask for the notebook that time. He said, "She has started writing your names." The next morning, Elise found a blue notebook in the oven, warm to the touch, though the oven breaker had been off since move-in day. The notebook was filled with neat columns. Dates on the left, names on the right. Harold, June, their dog, Milton. 3 unfamiliar names from 1988, 2 from 1996. The final page had Mark, Elise, and Nora written in pencil, but Nora's name had been written over and over until the paper tore. Under it was a sentence that changed the problem from haunting to warning. "The house answers for whoever opens the door." Mark wanted to burn it. Elise stopped him because the back cover had a receipt tucked inside from Briar Glen Hardware, dated November 14th, 1973. Pattern interrupt. It was for nails, drywall, and 1 interior door. That was the detail the realtor had never mentioned. There was supposed to be another room. Mark compared the 1973 permit map to the modern floor plan and found a missing rectangle behind the upstairs linen closet. Not a crawl space. A room, 8 feet by 10, sealed between the bedroom and the bathroom. The wall sounded hollow when he knocked, but only below shoulder height, as though something thick had been stacked behind it. He cut a square from the plaster while Elise waited downstairs with Nora and the police already dialed. The first thing through the opening was not air. It was the smell of wet wool. Inside there was a chair, a rusted lantern, and hundreds of doorbell chimes stacked on the floor. Old mechanical bells, brass bells, plastic battery bells from the 1990s. Everyone had a strip of masking tape on it with a name: Harold, June, Milton. Mark found his own name on a white wireless chime, still in its packaging. Then the bell downstairs rang, even though the device was in his hand and the front porch camera showed no one. Pattern interrupt. Elise screamed from below, not because someone was outside, but because Nora had walked to the door and was reaching for the knob. Mark ran down the stairs and grabbed Nora just before the latch turned. Through the frosted glass, 2 silhouettes waited on the porch. Harold stood slightly bent, hat in both hands. June stood beside him, face tilted toward the house like she was listening to music only she could hear. Elise pulled Nora back. Mark shouted through the door that they were leaving. June's voice came through the wood, calm and almost kind. "You cannot leave until someone answers." Pattern interrupt. That was when Mark understood the notebook. The house did not kill people because they moved in. It kept people because someone opened the door for what was already there. The police arrived at 3:29 a.m. and found the family in the kitchen, every exterior door locked, every window painted with condensation from the inside. The officers saw no couple on the porch. They did see the missing room, the bells, and the new white chime labeled Mark Porter. They also found a final entry in the blue notebook that had not been there when Elise photographed it an hour earlier. Harold opened for June. June opened for Milton. Mark opened for Harold. Cliffhanger. Beneath that, in lighter pencil, was one unfinished line. Nora will open for... The Porters left before sunrise and never returned for their furniture. The house was listed again 6 months later with new paint, brighter photos, and no mention of the sealed room. The listing said, "Recently updated smart doorbell." It sold in 9 days. The new owners posted one neighborhood introduction in the local Facebook group. A smiling couple on the porch, holding keys, saying they could not wait to meet everyone. At 3:17 a.m. the next morning, their doorbell camera uploaded one motion clip to the cloud. Pattern interrupt, it showed Mark Porter standing in the rain, asking if Nora had left her blue notebook inside. That is the part that makes the footage difficult to dismiss. Not the old faces, not the hidden room. The date on that final clip was February 11th, 2026, and Mark Porter was alive when it recorded. He was living 2 towns over, asleep beside Elise, with 3 security cameras proving he never left the apartment. The thing on the porch looked like Mark, sounded like Mark, and knew the name of his daughter. But the real Mark had not opened a door since Briar Glen. He had removed every handle from every room in their apartment. Pattern interrupt. And according to Elise, the bell still rings from inside the walls. If a house can learn a voice, it does not need ghosts to hunt you. It only needs a door, a name, and one tired person who wants the ringing to stop. If you want more stories like this, stay with the channel. And if a camera ever shows someone you know standing outside at exactly 3:17, do not answer through the speaker. Do not ask what they want. And above all, do not open the door.